and thank you for joining us today. Just over a month ago, we stood together and had a discussion about gun violence and how the city, the SPD, the county, public health, and community partners were all stepping up to help save lives. I've been in daily discussions with the mayor on addressing this issue. At the event, I said shootings had to stop. No one was there. No one there was under any illusion that a press conference or new investments in programs or significant arrests by police were going to end this ongoing epidemic overnight. I think we all hoped after the violent weekend in July, we could begin to turn a corner and that there were a few weeks where the violence seemed to be subsiding from their historic levels. But the unrelenting pace of the violence in recent days reminds us that this should be unacceptable. People need to put down their guns. Early this morning, a man was shot and killed in downtown Seattle. In this case, an armed robbery victim opened fire, apparently in self-defense, shooting and killing the armed suspect. This past weekend, we had multiple shooting instances with two individuals losing their lives as a result. So far, year to date, there have been over 100 additional shootings compared to the same time last year in 2020, and about 150 more than 2019. We've recovered over 2,000 gun casings. Last year, we recovered over 2,500 gun casings. We continue to see more victims being shot each year, 20 more incidents of victims. We're better than this. This community came together in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, and it is going to take an even greater community effort to push back on the relentless threat of violence. The community has a commitment that SPD will continue to work to create space and time for neighbors and leaders to safely be able to work to prevent additional violence. To do that, we must address who is doing the shooting now. We know from research that shooters and their associates quickly become victims. Stopping a shooting stops the cycle of violence. SPD officers are doing the dangerous and hard work of directly intervening and preventing future injury and loss of life. In just the past month, officers have arrested 24 individuals of gun-related offenses. So far this year, 14 individuals suspected to be involved in homicides have been arrested. Officers and detectives have taken about 100 guns off the street this month, putting us at 700 guns off the street so far this year. This is on pace for the 5th straight year of over 1,000 guns taken off the street. When officers arrive on scene of violence, they're not just pursuing suspects, they're saving lives. This year, they've applied 26 tourniquets in August alone. In August alone, we've had 8 additional times. 29 chest seals, 8 more in August alone. 47 combat gauze or pressure bandages, 9 more in August alone, and helped to stabilize many other victims until an ambulance could be on scene. We also know that the illicit distribution of sales of drugs, including fentanyl, which has been involved in a record number of overdoses deaths this year, is directly tied to violence. Detectives and officers have seized over 500,000 fentanyl pills, 13 pounds of cocaine, 88 pounds of meth, and 25 pounds of heroin. Officers and professionals across this department have also continued to engage positively with young people through summer youth employment, the Police Activities League, and in partnership with King County Public Health and the community organizations like Regional Peacekeeper Collaborative. Working with our federal partners, we've served countless warrants, taken numerous guns off the street, and distributed dangerous illicit trafficking networks, disrupted dangerous illicit trafficking networks across the region. I know these efforts have directly prevented shootings, but still too many have happened and continue to happen. SPD is committed to approaching this crisis in an evidence-based manner that focuses on community, analytics, prevention, environment, and enforcement. We know where the shootings are most likely to take place, and we know it's an extremely small number of people who are willing to pull a gun and use it. We know the types of locations that support the behaviors that lead to shootings. If the department was not in the midst of a staffing crisis, I would have highly visible officers in the neighborhoods suffering this violence, and we're doing everything we can to make this happen. There would be time to talk and connect with people with resources, and when disputes begin to bubble over, to intervene. I want to thank Councilmember Peterson for joining us today. He will speak in a few moments, but I cannot thank him enough for his advocacy to do all that we can to get more officers in the department and on the street. Without those officers, my options are extremely limited. He has been a steadfast partner for public safety, and I want to thank him for that. SPD officers on the street to save lives. We know that the widespread arrests do not make a neighborhood safer, but we and the rest of the justice system have to hold people accountable for engaging in violence and illegally carrying and using guns. We need the community to stand up with us, to denounce this violence. I and the police department and other city departments will stand with you. We need people to tell their friends and family that guns are not the answer. We need people to call 911 when they hear gunshots. We need people to talk to detectives when they know who has a gun or who is shooting at each other and helping to identify those suspects. We need the other parts of our community, like those here with us today, to address the underlying issues that give rise to violence, and to be out in the community helping people see that there are other ways to resolve conflict. At the last briefing, we announced the launch of our new public-facing shots fired dashboard, another step in data transparency and accountability. Today, I'm committing to routine updates on gun violence. We shouldn't only talk about this after a tragic weekend. Every day, hours of new coverage is spent on COVID-19, and rightfully so. But we need to be talking about gun violence just as much.